E25 of the Hilo Stitch podcast. I'm your host, Kristen, and I am here to talk to you about what else? Knitting. I will also be talking about knitting pattern design, goings-on in the fiber arts world, as if we have any goings-on now. And there's always a good chance that at some point I'm going to mention Diego Luna. So thank you so much for joining me today. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons who help support the podcast. And a special welcome to any new viewers who are checking out the podcast for the first time. So if you don't already know me, my name is Kristen Janik. I'm a knitting pattern designer and instructor. I am also mom to 2 boys, wife to a very tall man from Peru, and we are living in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. I also enjoy yoga, vegetable gardening, Orioles baseball, but it's mostly about the knitting, so let's go ahead and start talking about it. All right, so August is almost over. School starts Monday. All online. What's it called? Distance learning, virtual learning, whatever you want to call it. Starts Monday. I have a 2nd grader and a kindergartner, so obviously you're going to need some help with this. So I will be transforming back into a school marm by the time you're watching this. It's especially kind of a bummer because I've been a stay-at-home mom, work-at-home mom since JJ was born in February 2013. And with both kids supposed to be starting full-time school this fall, I was supposed to be able to get back to full-time work, whether that was pattern design or something else. But not only am I not doing that, I actually am suddenly a teacher instead. Even though summer is almost over, it is still hot here. It is currently 88 degrees. We are expecting afternoon thunderstorms. We have had a couple of cool days. Those really nice days in August where it doesn't quite get out of the 70s, and it's just such a nice reminder that fall is coming. And we did get to go to the beach. It was certainly better than being at home. I got to spend some time on the beach. Got a little bit of a tan. The house we rented had a pool, which was great for the kids, because their tolerance for the beach is somewhat minimal still. They both have kind of sensory issues a little bit, so they don't love playing in the sand. And there were a lot of jellyfish this year, especially the first few days that we were there. Like, you could just see them in the surf, count 6, 7 jellyfish. It got better as the days went on. And neither of them is ready to go, bounding into the ocean alone quite yet. They just mostly stay at the shore and jump in the waves. And but with the jellyfish, that was a little less likely to happen. Other than the beach and the pool at our house, though, we really didn't do much while we were there because we didn't feel it was safe. There were a lot of people not wearing masks. I certainly don't expect people to wear masks on the beach. I do expect you, if you are not wearing a mask, to at least attempt to maintain a 6 foot or more distance from the beachgoers around you, and that way too often was not happening. People are just walking along the shore. My kids are just, there's plenty of space on the beach, and so my kids are just, playing in like a, I don't know, 10 foot wide, space right at the shore. All you had to do is walk around them. People weren't doing that. People would, basically walk right up to us and then stop and look for seashells. You have the whole beach to look for seashells. You do not need to stand 2 feet from a child to look for seashells, okay? It's a pandemic. People were not wearing masks at the stores all the time. We left it up to my dad. Usually we go to the Outer Banks, and usually on our last night we go to the Sunset Grill, which is the food, to be honest, is just kind of average. We almost had a visitor. They have a very big menu, lots of seafood, but it's nothing spectacular. They have lots of fancy, I guess we do have it there. They have lots of fancy drinks, but they're all really, watered down. But it is on the sound side. It's beautiful sunsets. And they have a lot of outdoor seating, but they don't take reservations. And so we kind of left it up to my dad, being the oldest among us, whether or not he felt safe trying to get an outdoor spot there. And he said no. So we didn't do that. My husband and I usually do a date night at a really nice place down there. It really does have excellent food, called the Paper Canoe. They had no outdoor seating. They were having a 50% capacity inside, but just seeing all these people not wearing their masks, we didn't want to risk it. So got carry out a few nights. We grilled. I brought 2 frozen meals down for us to eat, so we mostly just kept to ourselves. So it was certainly, like I said, better than being at home, but I really hope we can have a vacation that is actually a vacation next year, that is relaxing instead of stressful, trying to keep the kids away from people and jellyfish, and doesn't require just everything. We had to go to the store to get something. Well, that requires some planning. Who's going to go, and let's make a list so that they don't have to go so many times, and let's make sure we order our carry-out way ahead for dinner. Otherwise, the restaurant's going to get overwhelmed and it's going to take 2 hours. So it was not as relaxing as you'd like your vacation to be. So, but at least we got away. Like I said, I got a little bit of sun, and I finished up a big project while I was down there. And sent it off to the magazine that is going to be published in next year. I spent plenty of time with my dad and my sister, and Ollie's birthday was the first full day we were down there, and he doesn't know any different. He just turned 6. We got him a toy that he really wanted, and almost the whole week the kids sat and played with that toy very happily. In case anybody is wondering, it is called the Epic Loop Challenge. It is a Hot Wheels playset that basically has 2 tracks, one for a Hot Wheels car and one for a Hot Wheels monster truck, and you put them both on and I press the button and they race around the loop. And I got him that and a set of monster trucks, and they had plenty of Hot Wheels they brought with them, and while they did fight over it quite a bit, they played with that almost nonstop the whole week, which was actually a little bit of a break. The house we rented, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. The house we rented was a nice house, but it was not a beach house. So it wasn't too far from the beach, but it just didn't have an outdoor shower. It didn't have, sort of outdoor deck space. It did have a nice pool. And it had like a waterfall fountain thing next to the pool, which was nice, but kind of useless. But it turns out that a family of frogs, maybe not a family because they were different kinds of frogs, live in it. And every night around 9 o'clock, maybe a little later, they would start making the most bizarre noise. Like, I've heard frogs before, but this just sounded very cartoonish. But I'll try to include the clip in here. I did finally get a clip of this teeny little frog making this most ridiculous sound.
Can you believe all that noise comes from this teeny frog?
So the kids did enjoy seeing the frogs, but the place seemed to be made for somebody who was disabled, so it had an elevator, which the kids found entertaining, and just was definitely set up for someone who needed like handrails and things like that. So it was a very nice place, but definitely wasn't a beach place. Like the furniture was just kind of stuffy, like not the kind of casual furniture you'd normally see at a beach house. So I don't think we'll be in a rush to rent that house again, but it was certainly nice for the week, and it had a pool table, which proved nice on the occasions where it rained. But literally, we were in the house for 5 minutes, and one of my kids dropped a Hot Wheels car down one of the holes, and we never got it back. We tried everything. So there is now a beach house in Corolla, North Carolina, with one of my children's cars stuck in it. The children did not learn to play pool, but Ollie did, give it a good effort, and I got to play some with my dad and sister. So overall, a nice week. I think about as nice as you can expect for a vacation in the middle of this pandemic. We all remain healthy. My dad's school, he is a teacher, although this year he's not actually teaching. He just got promoted to technology director instead of, retiring like a normal 73-year-old. So he's not teaching anymore, but he is still, a full-time employee, and they are doing in-person school, and he has to be there every day. And even though he's, sort of in the technology office, and they put like a plastic shield over his desk, I am very concerned. He is older. He does have pre-existing conditions. He's got high blood pressure. He has stents in his heart. He's on hormone therapy for prostate cancer. And I mean, considering all that, he's, very healthy, but those are all, things that put him at greater risk. So we will see how that plays out. As I said, my kids are going to be doing all online learning, which, while not good for me in terms of my life and plans for the fall, I feel much safer with that. So, all right, enough of that. Let's start talking about some knitting. I'm sure it will come as a surprise to no one that I do have some stash flash for you in this episode. I haven't been doing too much yarn shopping, but I did make one recent purchase. Again, it's not for me. It's actually for a design. So I got this beautiful palette. That was my kangaroo. This beautiful palette of yarns, because I have decided to do a kid's version of the Uma Margot sweater. So I'll pop a photo of that in here real quick. So this is a garter stitch sweater that is worked side to side from a center point at the back. That begins with some Vickle or lateral braids, and then the back is worked sideways from that center point on both sides and wraps around to the front. It has a drop shoulder. So I've decided to go ahead and make a kid's version that is going to have pockets and a zip front, except that I've never actually put a zipper in anything. I did take a zipper class with Franklin Habit a couple years ago at Vogue Knitting Live, New York. I hopefully maybe I have some notes, but I don't remember anything from it. But I mean, worst comes to worst, I suppose I could find somebody who could maybe sew the zipper in for me. I may also add a hood. I'm kind of torn on that part, but so I got these. This one is a little purpler than I thought, because I would be making the sample for my son, my older son, and neither of my kids are super wrapped up in, this color's for girls and this is for boys. My littlest, his favorite color is pink. And my older one really is just obsessed with color in general, so I don't think it's going to be a problem, but not like he's going anywhere to wear it anyway. So this is from Amano Yarns, which is a Peruvian-based company. And it is a 70% baby alpaca, 30% merino wool. These really beautiful heather colors. So this base is called Warmy, and that is Quechua. So it's probably pronounced a little bit differently. It says Warmy in Quechua, the native language of the Incas, means woman or union. Those are two pretty different words in English, so I will take their word for it. So this is a worsted weight yarn. It is, come on brain, 164 yards of skein. And so I got this to do what I did with the original Uma Margot pattern, which is kind of blend them together. And then I'm also gonna have a sample knit by sample knitter, which is just a solid color. And that is in Green Mountain Spinnery, something or other. I need to get that in the mail. I'm really good at my job. So I got 4 skeins of this. This is gonna be nice and warm. Now, normally I would not be super into a sweater made with so much alpaca because it just doesn't hold up. It's just so drapey that it tends to stretch out. But because this is a garter stitch that is worked side to side, it's going to be less of a concern. It's going to hold. I think it's going to hold together better. So this is on the docket for at some point later in the fall. I just sort of decided on a whim that I was going to make a kids version. Mostly because I looked at what I'd done this year and I hadn't done any kids patterns. And it's, you know, I've got 2 kids here that are not willing models, but bribable models. And I do like getting some patterns out there for kids. So you can look for that a little bit later this year, assuming I get my act together. And then I have one more yarn to show you. So I am recording the podcast today, and what came in the mail? So it's backwards, isn't it? This is my next Yarn Club yarn from Fiber for the People. So you guys can be here to unbox it with me. Aren't you so excited? I can't wait. All right, let's see what we got. Let's figure out how to open this box. It doesn't matter where I pick to start opening it, it will be the wrong spot. What about here? Is that it? Oh. All right, I really thought that was gonna be it. Oh, there we go. I'm just doing the wrong way. Okay, here we go. My hair's so awful today. All right, she always sends tea, and I'm not a big tea drinker, but she sent me one once. It was so good. Did I write down what it was? Probably not. She always sends tea. And with spring and summer coming up, wow, with summer ending and fall coming up, it's a good tea time. All right, so first, this is her inspiration photo. So this is gonna be beautiful, you can tell. Let's see, this is like a deep, dark fairy tale forest, kinda. Love it. And of course, you can't see this part, but she sends us a coupon code. And I am already planning to use mine to get a sweater quantity for myself for my birthday in October. All right, so my subscription is her single ply yarn. So let's see what we got here. Look at that. That's beautiful. Look at that green down there. Absolutely gorgeous. She really captured all of these colors. Wow. So this is her. I get the single ply. It's a 100% superwash merino. She has another single ply that I used for that. That is merino and mohair. So it's a little bit fuzzier, but this is the 100% superwash merino, so soft. Look at these, just beautiful greens. I love it. I'm really tempted to take the wrapper off and just pull out the whole loop of yarn to show you guys, but I have a terrible time getting them back together after I do that. I know that dyers have like some kind of contraption set up to get it's twisted so tightly, and of course they don't, you know, they wrap the wrapper around and then tape it. They don't try to stuff it back in the wrapper, but still, this is so pretty. Oh, I love it. Got greens and just dark blues, black, golds are in there. So really, really stunning. So this is the round 3 yarn for her Values Club for this year. Beautiful. All right, for pattern drop this month, I have the Summit Pullover in the fall issue of Interweave Knits. I have had a couple of patterns in knit scene before, but this is the first time I've had a pattern in knits. So first I'm gonna go ahead and pop a photo in here. So as you can see, this is a colorwork pullover with a few differences than maybe a traditional one. So I'm gonna pop an extra photo in here, which is a not super fantastic photo of the sweater on my dress form, but it gives you a better idea of its shape. So you can see that it has a bit of a blouse-on shape. The body is a little bit drapey, it's not close fitting, but then the hem has a wide swath of ribbing and pulls inward. So it gives that a little bit of a blouse-on shape, 3/4 length, kind of slightly puffed sleeves. As you can see, Interweave was not able to do their usual modeled photos, which is a bit of a bummer. You know, I do a lot of my own photos, and when I do that, it's me, a tripod, a camera, and a remote. So I'm trying not to be too upset that they were not able to get real photos. This is a fingering weight sweater, but because I wanted it to have a lot of shape, it is knit at a looser gauge. So it's not like it's knit on US 2 needles or anything like that. And it is knit with Jameson Shetland Spindrift, which is a sort of a rustic 2-ply fingering weight yarn in a million billion colors. So the colorwork yoke is the trickiest part, and then, you know, from there on, it's a lot of stockinette and simple knitting. The first time I knit this sample, I knit the entire yoke on the wrong size needles, the whole thing, and I was already falling behind schedule because the original palette of colors they had sent me, one of the colors just was not standing out enough, and I had to get a substitute, and so I was already behind, and then I knit the entire yoke on the wrong size needles. So I hate knitting things a second time, and then I had to do this tricky color work all over again. I had to rip all the way back to the collar. But hopefully that won't happen to you. All right, so this pattern includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sizes. You'd think I would have remembered that. The pattern includes 8 sizes, so it goes from a 33-inch bust up to a 59¼ bust circumference. And for most of the colors other than the main color, you just need, you know, 2 to 4 balls of the contrast colors. It is worked mostly on a US 5, so like I said, not too tiny. I'm looking at the actual pattern in the magazine because I don't remember. You know, because you work magazine patterns almost a year, you know, ahead of time, so I haven't worked on this in ages. And the gauge is about 6.5 stitches to the inch. Let's see, anything else I think should be mentioned? No, I think that's it. All right, so this is in the fall issue of Interweave Knits. You can buy a digital copy. You can also buy the individual pattern directly from Interweave, and I will include links to both of those things in the show notes. So I actually have lots to show you for Adelante this month. I have a lot in progress. I just can't seem to get anything finished, but I have a lot in progress. So let's start with the women's version of the Judy Pullover. See how much I can show you here. There we go. You can see it's getting a little wrinkly, but I have the body done, and I have started on a sleeve, and they are plain stockinette sleeves. So this should be getting finished pretty soon. I was really hoping to drop this by the end of August, but it just didn't work out that way. You know, I think like everybody, finding motivation sometimes this year is just difficult. I have a lot of projects started, and I just can't seem to keep going with them, but this is almost ready. As I said, this is the women's version of the Judy Pullover, which is a bottom-up drop shoulder pullover with a textured yoke and a front collar placket. It was originally designed for men, and the revised pattern is going to include 10 sizes with instructions for altering lengths in a couple of areas for both women and men. So I do not, this this sample is worked in Blue Sky Fibers wool stock. So this is a worsted to Aran weight yarn. So it's not like super soft because it's not merino, it's just a regular wool. So it's not super soft, but it is plenty soft enough for a sweater garment, but it has nice crisp stitch definition. You can see here, and it's nice and sturdy as well, and it's going to be a nice warm sweater. So close on this one. And again, this is not a brand new pattern. This is a pattern kind of redo, but I'm really looking forward to having this done because that means I have a sweater for the fall. What else? We have another almost done sweater, and I've kind of got a lot going on here. Well, all right, so this is a sweater that I am calling where is the front and the back? I don't even, okay, this is a sweater I'm calling 6 Crooked Highways. So you can see up close, these are little slip stitch cables all over the body. I've also started them on the sleeve, but then I thought I wanted to get the collar done so that I could start getting preview knitters interested. If you are interested, please get in touch. Preview knitters do not have to have their projects completed by the time the pattern drops. So you'll have 3 to 4 weeks to get started on your project, maybe get a nice photo, give me feedback on what you can, but you don't have to have everything finished. So this is another fingering weight sweater. This is Biche et Bouche Le Petit Lambswool in the medium green gray color. The collar is going to be a folded over kind of a little bit of a shawl collar. The bottom is this twisted rib with a rolled hem, and just these simple slip stitch cables all over. It looks a little close fitting, but these cables are really going to stretch out when it's blocked. So it's going to become a little bit more almost cropped and a looser fit. This is another bottom-up drop shoulder, and then the cables are going to be repeated on the sleeves. So this is on track for a late September. I'm really happy with this. I think it's adorable. It's hard to tell about the color because I've got it on a 16-inch needle, and I think it could certainly be stretched bigger than that. I'm a little concerned that I didn't make the collar wide enough, but we'll see. Also, this yarn is definitely going to bloom more once this is washed and blocked. So if you've got some fingering weight yarn in your stash and you want to give that a shot, you can also go shopping at Bichet Bouche. They have beautiful, reasonably priced yarns. So that is on track. And then one more thing that I can show you is that I finally got started on this little worsted weight shawl that I've just, I bought 4 skeins, 2 skeins of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter and 2 skeins of Spin Cycle Dream State, the one that they call a worsted weight. And I just had this idea to combine them in a big cozy worsted weight-ish shawl, and I finally got started on that. So I'm losing the light because it's gonna start raining, I think. So I just have barely started. Right now I'm working on some small garter stitch stripes, and then this is not going to be, you know, like a super complex pattern. I'm just going to use, I think, combining these kind of garter stitch stripes with a couple of slip stitch color patterns that show off, you know, the way the colors can blend in and out. The blue is this just solid, beautiful navy all the way through. The Spin Cycle, if you're not familiar with it, is sort of a barber pole striped, hand spun style yarn, and it's fading from kind of like this black and white here through like some light blues and browns, and so I've started with kind of the light end. I'm going to work toward the dark end. So it should, you know, kind of create a fade. And this is just a traditional triangle shape with a little bit of a different center column, just to give it a little bit more structure at the center, since this is a worsted weight yarn. I have no idea when I'm gonna get this pattern. I meant to have this done, like I said, a long time ago. It's just, things are not happening in the order and with the speed that I would like. The pattern for this was supposed to be to my tech editor yesterday, or maybe today. And I do send her a lot of things that I've barely started the sample, but I've written the pattern, and this will be yet another. But again, you know, a worsted weight shawl, I guess August, September is maybe not quite the right time for that, but we're getting there. So later this year, this nice 2-color shawl. And just for fun, I have it already, even though it's only August, I have it in my Rhinebeck bag from Little Skein in the Big Wool that I love. So you can see autumn leaves, cider donuts, sheep wearing scarves, sheep butt. Love this. So those are the 3 designs that I currently have in progress. I've got, let's see, the kids version of Umo Margo. I've got a super top secret pattern for Forbidden Fiber Company's Harry Potter Advent Calendar. And I have 2 more sweaters and another impromptu sock pattern. All of which I really need to get started on. So plenty is still coming for the end of the year. I've also got two more magazine patterns coming out for the end of the year. So we are getting into the busy season, but that's what I have to show you for today. All right, I want to do a quick update on my dye garden. My space for my dye garden still needs to be tilled. But I do have some plants going. So this one, which is getting eaten a little bit, this is the double black hollyhock. Over here, I believe this is the Black Knight Scabiosa. It's hard to tell, no flowers. This one here, this is the madder. And that is one where you use the roots for dyeing. But for some reason, I also managed to plant, I believe, Dyer's, sorry mosquitoes, Dyer's chamomile with it. So I'm gonna try to separate those. And then over here, I had a single flower on my Tango Cosmo. Mosquitoes. I got a couple of more buds. And I will take a quick trip across my poorly kept yard. And over here I planted with my tomatoes marigolds. I forget what kind. And so I do have a marigold with a few flowers. So I'm gonna leave that there because I'm gonna plant tomatoes here next year. Sorry, there's a local airport where people with too much money and time on their hands fly planes as a hobby. So I'm gonna leave that there to grow along with my tomatoes next year, maybe plant some more. The madder, I want to transplant, but since my dye garden is not ready, what I might do is go ahead and put that in these weedy flower beds over here that are full of, what is it called? Lemon balm. And then the others, I'm going to leave in these pots and bring inside and hopefully overwinter them. You can see the cosmos. I got 2 strong plants. The other ones are not looking great. So yeah, I'm going to try to bring the other dye plants in to overwinter and hopefully plant them next spring. By then, perhaps I will have managed to till the space for my dye garden. I have failed miserably to get any personal projects off the needles. I have made almost no progress on any personal projects except for this one. So I finally almost have my non-Euclidean socks off the needle. I need to work like 3 more decrease rounds and then Kitchener, and then I'll have 1 sock off the needle. So this is a pattern by Sarah Jordan, and I'll show you that it's a mostly plain pattern with just a non-traditional heel, which is the fun part. Because it's mostly stockinette, it works up really nicely in this yarn. All right, so this is, come on fingers, be a foot. Okay, so this is what the heel looks like. It kind of just starts moving from a center point into a triangle shape at the back of the heel. Very simple, but a really unique construction, and it just gives this such an interesting look. This is my favorite kind of sock pattern right now, which is something that has like 1 element that is distinct and the rest of it is either stockinette or some really simple stitch pattern that I can memorize. It's perfect for self-striping yarns. So this yarn is from White Birch Fiber Arts. It is called Nothing Says Screw You Like a Rainbow. And like I said, I'm about to finish 1 sock and then I am probably going to cannibalize these needles and use them for a sock design that just sprang to mind. These are my 1.5s. That's my preferred needle size for socks. And you'd think I'd have more of them, but I don't. So I just keep like knitting 1 sock and then switching them out to another project. So I have like a whole bunch of 1 socks just lying around the house. It's ridiculous. I should, you know, my birthday's in October. If you guys want to get me something, 1.5 US sock needles. I sometimes knit on 2 circulars. I also do magic loop. I don't have a preference. So that is the only thing that is even close to coming off the needles in terms of personal knitting. I have made no progress on my ripple butt shorts. I have made no progress on my Deschain or Deschain or however it's pronounced. I think those were the other 2 personal projects I was working on. No, I've done nothing with them. I did start a test knit for Karina Spencer. I don't have it up here, and it's a shawl, and I basically have done like the cast on, so it's nothing to show you. But I am using some leftovers that I had from my Painted on the Sky top, which is done in Fiber for the People, her single ply merino mohair and her lace weight mohair. So this particular pattern from Karina is called the Yellow Brick Cowlet. and it uses a fingering weight and a lace weight mohair, and I happen to have enough left over, so I am excited to be, well, it looks like we're gonna get a storm. I'm excited to be working on that. It's a really cute pattern. It's really stupid of me to be test knitting when I have so much else going on, but it is something I want to get into more, and we'll go on to news and notes, and then that'll explain more about that. So as I said, I'm going to build on what I was saying in the previous segment here in news and notes, which is to let you guys know that at the end of 2020, I am going to be taking a step back from pattern design. I have been working on pattern design part-time, definitely never full-time, but sometimes part-time means 5 hours a week, and sometimes it means 25 hours a week. For the last 5 years, and I have really enjoyed many aspects of it, but it is just not earning me a living. And you know, I've been blogging a lot recently, so you can go check out some of those blog posts if you really want some more behind the scenes about sort of the financial aspects of pattern design. But you know, I'm in a position where I decided to stay home after I had JJ in 2013 because daycare would have cost nearly my whole salary, and because sorry, we're losing the light. Because of the length of our commute, we would have had to leave JJ at daycare for almost 12 hours a day. So I decided to stay at home, and that was a decision I was able to make, and we were able to maintain, you know, our more or less our current standard of living without me earning a salary. But that it's a very privileged position to be able to do that, and very, very few people can do that sort of over the long term. So I've been working part-time with the design business, and you know, I fully understand that when you start a small business, you're probably going to have a couple of years where you're not making a lot of money, but I'm sort of at the point now that that I'm 5 years into this and I'm still earning less than minimum wage. And as I said when I was doing the Chatterbox segment, I should have been able to go back to work full time this fall. I obviously can't because of the kids being at home, but eventually they are, you know, either in the spring or maybe next fall, they are going to be in school full day. And I have no reason to believe that dedicating, you know, a full-time schedule to design work is gonna earn me a better salary, you know. There's no evidence to suggest that. And with all of that free time, I need to devote myself to something that can earn me some kind of living. And I'm really sad it's not pattern design, but you know, I gave it the college try, and I really have enjoyed so many parts of it. But there are also a lot of parts that I don't enjoy, and I'm also feeling, with everything going on with Ravelry, that's, you know, no longer a reliable platform for selling my patterns, with the constant, you know, additional demands on designers to make these kind of bigger, better patterns, and the still this unwillingness to pay a fair, you know, a fair price that reflects the labor for those bigger, better patterns. It's something I need to take a step back from. So as I was saying in the previous segment, I hope to get into more test knitting because I'm not going to be designing starting in January. Unless, I get a random inspiration and decide to make something, but it's no longer going to be my business. I'm still going to do the podcast. I am still going to be blogging, I hope, and maybe blogging more. I will still be offering my 2 e-courses, which is Swatchmaster and Sweater Siren, when we're allowed to interact with other humans in person again. I do hope to continue to pursue some in-person teaching opportunities as well, maybe here in the Mid-Atlantic area, or elsewhere if you want to invite me to speak, to teach. Not so much to speak because I'm not very good at it. I am going to be getting into, in terms of full-time work, I'm going to be refocusing on translation, which I have some experience in. I have done freelance in the past. I need to work on, getting recertified. But this time I'm going to be adding knitting pattern translation. So right now, what I'm doing is offering some, kind of pro bono work to get back in practice. Here comes the thunder. So if you or someone is a designer looking to have their pattern translated from Spanish to English or vice versa, get in touch. And then beginning in January, I will offer formal translation services. But for now, it's kind of on a pro bono, casual basis, which means it's not, you don't have to pay anything, but it's probably not going to come back to you as quickly as maybe you would like, because I'm mixing it in with some of my other stuff. But I do appreciate anybody who would like to give me a chance to practice. I have done a couple of translations already. Obviously, I could practice translating my own patterns, but if I'm not selling enough of my patterns in English, I don't think, translating them into Spanish is going to help me a whole lot. I'll still be, here on the YouTube channel, doing the tutorials, doing the podcast, still offering my e-courses and blogging and being a member of, the fiber arts community, sharing my knitting and maybe some spinning and sewing on Instagram and all of that stuff. But other than 1 or 2 patterns that are going to come out in a couple of magazines, there won't be any more new patterns from me after this year. I will also still be working to regrade and add additional sizes to all of my garment patterns until that is done. And then any third-party publications that came out this year or last year and will have the rights revert to me in 2021, I will also make those indie patterns once that happens. So for example, the Summit Pullover that I showed you earlier, next year that I'll be able to release that as an indie pattern. And there are a couple more from Knit Scene and maybe Knit Picks that I'll be doing that in the new year as well. But that is the news for now. Don't go away. I've got, as I said, 5 or 6 more patterns coming in 2020. I've got some sweater patterns I'm really excited about. I want to finish things up with a bang. So stick around. There are still more patterns coming, but in the new year, no more patterns, more pattern translation, and maybe some more test knitting. Okay, so tonight we're going to make a new drink that I read about and thought sounded good. It is called Bourbon Peach Smash. That's my finger in the way. All right, so first first I made this peach shrub with fresh peaches sliced up, sugar, and a little bit of vinegar. So we take a couple of slices of peach. This is about half a peach. So I cut the original recipe in half because I wasn't sure if we were gonna like it. And that's my children yelling because they don't want to go to bed. All right, So we take some peaches, and then some mint leaves, and we do have, there's my child again, a mint plant in the backyard, primarily for this purpose. Not this particular purpose, but for making beverages. All right, some mint leaves, and then we get to do muddling, which basically means we mash it up. All right, so that's nicely muddled. And now we add some of the syrup from the peaches. So, it's kind of hard to do this with one hand. Probably should have had some additional assistance from the other beverage drinker. Hang on a second. All right, so now I have added some of the peach syrup. It smells very peachy. And now, bourbon, or in this case, whiskey. I don't really understand the difference, to be honest. So, shot of that. If anybody knows what the difference is and would like to tell me, I'm all ears. Okay. Now let's stir that up. I'm actually gonna divide, it's supposed to be 1.5 ounces, so I'll divide this. All right, stir that up. Some ice. Okay. And then the recipe says either club soda or ginger beer. I prefer ginger beer, but my husband prefers the club soda. So, for me, splash of ginger beer. Okay, about even. And now, my very helpful husband is going to come in here and try his drink so I can share this with everybody. Please don't look at my messy house. That was a poor choice of my part. That one's yours.
All right. That's really good.
Okay, I'm going to link this recipe in the show notes. Peach bourbon smash. Okay, a thunderstorm is coming and I am losing the light, so it is time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 25 of the Hilo Stitch podcast. You can find show notes with links to everything I have talked about at mediaperuana.com/Hilo-Stitch. Thank you so much to my Patreon patrons who help keep the podcast and the free tutorials and other aspects of my business running. If you are interested in finding more about all of the perks and bonuses you get as a Patreon patron, and in supporting the podcast, you can find out more at patreon.com/mediaperuana. Please, if you are willing and able, leave a comment, share, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff here on YouTube, which helps expand the reach of the channel. If you are looking for me on social media, you can find me as Media Peruana on Instagram and Ravelry. I will also be including down below link to my pattern shop on Ravelry, Payhip, and Lovecrafts if Ravelry is not accessible to you. And I promised I was going to say something about Diego Luna. So my husband and I have been watching Pan y Circo on Amazon Prime, which is basically Diego Luna bringing together a bunch of people to talk about current events, political issues, and things like that. He's just kind of the moderator, and he sits there and talks and drinks wine, and there are parts where he cooks. I wish he would come cook me dinner. All right, that's it. I will see you next time.